Thank you everyone for joining us today. If you're joining us live, thank you for taking the time. If you're watching this as a recorded session, please like it. Please share it with anyone in the industry that you think may be able to get some use out of it. We'll be sending this out to the team, and we have it recorded on our partner platform as well in our portal under resources. This is one of my favorite topics. So last discussion we had was, and also a favorite one of mine, was around infrastructure and physical services, OSI model, kind of layer one stuff. We're now going to the top of the stack around application development and system integration projects. So totally different skill set, totally different resources, different division of Quest, but closely aligned with everything we do and everything your customers do. So really excited about kind of going into this and jumping into it with you. A lot of our partners, the reason we're doing this is because partners asked us to help with some education material and help with a process discussion around how Quest helps. Our go-to-market is how can we help? That pulls us into all sorts of different areas, and application development and system integration is probably the fastest growing division within our company, and one of the largest opportunities for you as a partner to really differentiate yourself and help your customers achieve what they're trying to do. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into it. So today we're going to be covering, current application landscape, a little bit of the basic terminology. I know some people are afraid to bring things up that they don't know a ton about. But at the same time, a little bit of knowledge can go a long way in helping you uncover some opportunities with your clients. We're going to be talking a little bit around current challenges, current things in the market that are transitioning right now, things that are changing, rules, regulations, some of the vendors that most of our clients deal with. So the Microsofts, the VMwares, the Azure, the hyperscalers, the AWSs, everything's hosted on different platforms, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. So clients are dealing with common challenges on how to manage, maintain, and operate their applications. There are times within a client, within an organization, where there's going to be sparks for, hey, there's an opportunity to help them. So we're going to be covering a little around those, we call them catalyst conversations and pain points, and just being aware, being curious, asking questions around applications, how they're doing it, how they're managing it, those types of things. And then Quest is an agile shop. We do agile methodology for building. So we're going to jump into that a little bit and kind of tell a little bit of use case and a little bit of story around how we built out our application development practice. So I want you to walk away with a little bit of understanding typical customer needs and potential areas of opportunity, how you can position value for your clients to help them get done what they need to achieve. And then this is a big differentiator. There are not a lot of organizations in the channel that are helping you as trusted advisors, technology advisors, consultants, brokers, VARs, MSPs with application development, right? There are a lot of scalable organizations out there that, hey, come to my data center. Hey, let me manage this. Let me secure this. XYZ. Application development helps tie a lot of those services together. So it's a connective glue for you as a trusted advisor and a technology advisor to help fill in the gaps for your customers that they're honestly struggling to deal with. So again, we're going to be talking around application stack, areas of responsibility and opportunity, basic knowledge on some agile practices, and then, hey, we got some application languages and operating systems and database options. Those are just, we're really just want to break it down to the idea of these are building blocks around what ultimately an application development conversation is going to be. So stay curious, ask questions, please. If there's anything you want us to address as we're going through this, don't hesitate to reach out, throw the chat or the question in the chat and we'll address it. Why clients are struggling with application development and areas where you can help. There's a lot of different reasons that we get involved. One of the biggest reasons is application overlap. I was just on a call today with a partner who built out an amazing matrix around understanding what clients have already invested in and what platforms they've already invested in. This could be security applications like MDR, SIM, XDR services, managed firewall, monitoring of their network, multi-factor authentication. A lot of clients have overlap, right? And sometimes integration, system integration, and application development can help them get more out of their current investments, right? So maybe they have a multi-factor authentication solution they've already purchased. Maybe they already have a firewall that they've already invested in. Maybe they already have a SASE solution or SD-WAN appliance, and they need help coming in there, assessing what they have, and then integrating what new tools are available from that vendor to maybe cut down on 10 vendors to 3, right? So efficiency. Competition, applications and their clients' underlying systems are what support their end users. So when you're getting involved in an application conversation, clients are trying to figure out, it might not even be an IT discussion. It may be with their sales organization. It may be with, their human resources or their management or their financial division to do more with less or service their customers better. A lot of trusted advisors are very, very familiar with competitive advantage in the call center or the call management space, right? Automating call flows, automating scripts, routing, all that kind of good stuff. Think about that in the same way as their web presence, their ordering, their order intake, their processing of loan applications or of potential things that they're selling. How are you as a trusted advisor and a technology advisor helping them understand how they can better compete in their market? And they're all trying to figure that out through applications. A lot of cost savings, a lot of compliance, simplifying visualization. So taking multiple points of entry for data and bringing that into a single pane of glass. Quest had a fantastic engagement still ongoing through one of our partners that helped take about 25 back-end applications that were involved in a loan origination platform. And we simplified it down to a single point of entry for the client who was originating this loan software, as well as the clients who were servicing that loan and making payments and things like that. So it took a very, very complex workflow, long-term system that had been around for 20 years, LexisNexis, all sorts of other back-end platforms, and tied it together in a single pane of glass and gave them the ability to basically service the loans efficiently, and gave the client the ability to pay and adjust the loan term while they were shopping for cars. So tons of opportunity there to help simplify that. Again, people are trying to do more with less. They're trying to figure out what subscriptions they have, what they've invested in, how can they tie that together, where can they secure their data. When you're getting into a system integration project, a very, very important question is, where is the data that the application is going to ultimately leverage? Where is it hosted? Is it on-prem? Is it backed up? Is it replicated to multiple sites? Are your users tying into it through one data center? Are they tying into it through multiple sites? How are you broadcasting that? Application development is going to lead into a lot of other opportunities, because ultimately that application, that platform is servicing either their business operations or their clients, and it needs to be resilient. So, and the data could require certain levels of security. So application development is the top of the stack. Applications are at the top of the stack, and they're built on every single other building block that Quest helps with, all the way from the physical infrastructure layer. So how are you securing the hosting of the application? Where does it reside? All of that good stuff. And then ultimately scalability. How accessible do these platforms need to be? Who are they servicing? How are you dealing with that? So lots of whys, lots of areas where clients could need help. And you as a trusted advisor, what I strongly recommend is be curious about those applications, how they're being leveraged, talk to your customers around who's responsible for those ultimately. And you can really help them, address some pain points. So we did this, we've done this discussion a couple of times. And we just always kind of pull trends that we're seeing. So in 2025, no shocker, obviously some of the biggest funding is going towards machine learning and artificial intelligence. So things like Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, Perplexity, there's, multiple large language models that are going on out there. These are helping with development tasks. These are also helping with, chatbot, image recognition, predicting customer behavior. We are tying in, and we're seeing this ourselves. A lot of organizations are trying to get their database and their data sets and their platforms ready for AI agents, as well as secured from AI agents. So the integration of this is ongoing. It's already here. It's helping organizations with their development, but also big opportunity helping your clients get prepared for that. We'll talk about that a little bit later with our AI workshop, but that's some trends we're seeing. Also, containerization and microservices are continuing in the agile and the development process across wherever these platforms are being hosted. These are very scalable. It allows us as developers and our teams as app dev to, basically update and continually improve applications while they're being built. Also, it really helps with the ability to move those applications where they need to go, and gives us the ability to manage certain functions within a process. So you don't have to rip and replace the entire application. You can change and from an agile standpoint, develop new functionality without kind of breaking the whole machine. Low code, no code applications as well, big trend in 2025. Something we're seeing a lot of are the progressive web apps. So it's again that cost efficiency, and all progressive web app really is like, instead of having a dedicated application, it's basically a very similar experience, but it's through a web browser type of a function. So think of like front end questions around certain features for a client, or again back to loan origination software, loan payment processing, those types of interfaces. It's all through your web browser. A lot of clients are trying to provide those web services. Edge computing is a lot of fun. This is a trend that we've seen continue to evolve, and especially in the AI world, clients are very comfortable leveraging ChatGPT and other large language models for scraping the internet for what it's learned out there. But a lot of organizations aren't quite comfortable letting those services into their environment and letting them learn on their proprietary data. So edge computing and the ability to contain that language model and keep that data secure is something that we're seeing a lot of, and we're helping organizations do that by basically think of it as you're sandboxing an edge compute environment where you take all the benefits of the large language model and the AI, and it can parse your data locally without exporting that back to the mothership and broadcasting it to all your competitors. So edge computing is a big development. A lot of organizations want to use artificial intelligence, but they want to help control it. Microsoft wins has been the story for about the last 10 years, and they're continuing to win. We are seeing, excuse me, just got WebEx notification popped up there. Not sure why. Paul, are you seeing my desktop still?
Yes, I'm looking at top Microsoft trends continuing in 2025.
Okay, sorry, I just had a WebEx pop up there for a second. Apologies about that. So I think Cisco got mad when I said Microsoft wins. So sorry, Cisco. Anyways, in 2025, we're seeing continuing that growth for their cloud computing services, right? So 102 billion. About 42% of their revenue in 2024. AI enabled services actually went from about 12 billion to 10 billion in 2024. Went from about 6% of their total revenue to about 4% of their total revenue. And people might think that that's like, oh, wow, that's because AI is not working. I think it's actually based on the numbers that were presented. Um, Cloud compute and Copilot services are getting integrated into other aspects of the tech stack within Microsoft. So it was a little bit more expensive in 2023. It's now becoming a little bit more common in the Microsoft world and bundled into other services. So standalone Copilot acquisitions went down a little bit, but it's also tied into more services. So a little bit of a shell game there, I believe. But interesting to see that as reported in 2024. And then again, you know, every single one of your customers, not every single one, but a vast majority of your customers have invested in the Microsoft 365 suite. Billions and billions of dollars. It makes up about a fifth of Microsoft's, total revenue. So huge application set there. And the reason I bring up Microsoft is because a lot of the applications that are developed, maintained, and operated, right? So when we think about maintenance and operations of applications, a lot of them are tied into at one layer or another, either the operating system or the users or the database into Microsoft at some level or another. Not saying everyone's hosted on Microsoft, not saying everyone's in Azure, not saying everyone's, anything, but a lot of the applications that you deal with and your customers deal with are tied back into these trends within Microsoft. Something that we're seeing, and this is huge over the last 14 years. I just want to bring this up because a lot of trusted advisors and technology advisors spend a lot of their time in the network connectivity space, right? And I'll tie this in with Microsoft in a second here. Enterprise software is about $1.1 trillion in 2025. Okay. My chart on the right here only goes through 2023. But what we're seeing is right now by 2027, okay, worldwide spending on network connectivity and infrastructure services is about 170 billion. Okay. So it's not 10x the spend, but it's getting close to 10x the spend of what we've all built our companies on, right? Quest has been a VAR, a managed service provider, a network operator, a data center provider, everything within the network connectivity space for a long time, for 42 years. About 20 years ago, we decided to start investing in our managed services and our system integration space. And that's turned out to be a good bet because I don't forget if it's Mark Andreessen or Horowitz or whoever it was, but said basically software is eating the world. Software is a huge spend. So think about all of the channel that we've developed, all the channel that you've been working in. That's about a tenth of the size for that entire ecosystem of what's being spent in enterprise software. So, and back to Microsoft, those trends are continuing to accelerate. And every single one of your platforms that your customers are dealing with, for the most part, is tied back into the Microsoft world. So good to understand what those trends are. Also good to understand that when Microsoft changes a rule or changes a game or changes something from a support standpoint, that's going to trickle down to all of this application and enterprise software spending because people are going to have to make moves, changes, and decisions. One of the big ones right now that's about to happen is certain things like Windows 10 and other aspects and SharePoint and SQL are going end of life and end of support. So there's a huge, this fall, October is going to be a little spicy. September and October are going to be a little spicy in the Microsoft world because also multi-factor authentication requirements are going to be enforced on this $540 billion revenue source for Microsoft. So every user and about 60% of the middle market is not enforcing multi-factor authentication. So how does this have to do with system integration? Well, every single one of those users in that middle market space that is leveraging Microsoft is going to have to enforce multi-factor authentication for their users. Also, all of the applications that tie into that Microsoft ecosystem are going to have some level of multi-factor authentication to tie back into those Microsoft tenants. So big opportunity to develop, track, plan, design, and develop along the agile methodology. You can't just break someone's Microsoft instance or their application or just, hey, time out, we can't operate email for a month or two. Let's pause, let's do a waterfall assessment, let's do the requirements, let's do the design, let's do the implementation, let's do the verification, and then we'll maintain it. Cool idea, but a lot of people have built their businesses and built their applications around certain rules that are now changing. Or like with the SQL and the SharePoint and the Exchange rules, some of those are becoming end of life and end of support, or Windows 10, for example, no mas. So how are you going to support the applications that were built on those operating systems or those databases? Huge opportunity. Ask your customer. Don't go down the rabbit hole of, hey, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to fight my competitors for the Microsoft licensing. You can. I mean, that's a big business. You can sell a lot of, you can make a lot of money selling Microsoft licensing if you want to. But take a step above that and ask the question around what applications do they have that are dependent on Microsoft, just as an example. What applications do they have that could potentially need to be assessed, redesigned, upgraded, or modernized in order to deal with the changes? So what we built, this is Waterfall. We've been a VAR and a MSP for a long time. So you do the requirements gathering, you do the design, the implementation, you verify it works, you do the cut, and then you maintain it, right? We've all done these projects. Think about swapping out circuits or moving someone from a phone system to a low on-premise phone platform to a hosted UCaaS instance or whatever it is. We've all been in technology. We've all gone through this linear discussion. It's great. You can make a lot of money doing it. But when you have to maintain, operate, and update, not on the fly or not, of course, in production, but when you're releasing code and updates constantly, the application world is changing all the time. There's thousands of software as a service providers. There's thousands of, you'll hear words like APIs and plugins and basically transactions between applications. This is a constant job that your clients are dealing with, managing, operating, and supporting their applications. So Quest built out our agile methodology, our approach. We go through scrums and sprints and have what we call a sprint zero engagement, where we break up the requirements. We plan for that specific sprint. You design, develop, and then once you test and release the code, you start all over again with the next set of iterations and challenges. So it's a very collaborative process. It's the idea of sometimes daily and weekly calls to go through changes, updates, reviewing code, reviewing releases. It's a lot of fun. And also you get very, very close with your clients' requirements and what they're trying to achieve. So again, we've done the waterfall, we've done the development where you go through the requirements and the design and the implementation, and then you maintain it after verification. No problem there. But with application development and what a lot of people are going to have to figure out coming up, and again, it's going to get spicy in September, October. They're going to have to figure out, how do we deal with the changes in the industry? How do we deal with the rules of the game being changed? And how do we keep our businesses operational while dealing with those changes? Quest has built out the methodology to do that. We're helping organizations understand that. And you as an advisor can really get in there and understand, okay, what applications are built here? How are we going to modernize them? And how are we going to help you continue to service your customers? Typically, we will start with what we call a sprint zero, where we assess any technical debt, assess a little bit of the requirements, and then propose a plan and a high-level design for the subsequent sprints. So a lot of fun. Every single one of your customers is dealing with this. Maybe not specifically in the Microsoft world. You know, Google's got their own challenges. AWS has got their own rules. Um, uh, Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, Oracle, all of these platforms are constantly defending themselves from bad actors. And by them changing their security controls, that can change the applications that live there, right? So, you know, just imagine a landscape changing all the time, and you have to figure out how to build a, you know, build a castle on a, you know, a tectonic plate that's constantly shifting. That's basically what we're doing in the application space. So basic terms as you're chatting with your customer, you know, around applications, right? Just so, you know, core banking applications would be considered a COTS application, right? So it's an off-the-shelf application. You're not gonna modernize or change FIS or Jack Henry or a core banking application. It is what it is. You're subscribing to that application, and you know that is what it is. SaaS applications you're all familiar with. We kind of, you know, beat the Microsoft 365 thing down here pretty heavily. The rules around that. That's a subscription-based application service. In-house development, custom application, proprietary, right, would be something like, you know, Uber is valued at multi-billion-dollar company because they've integrated multiple back-end suppliers and data streams that tell you who's available to be a driver, where they are, who you are as a subscriber, and kind of married all of those data sets together. They didn't necessarily develop everything that underlies that, but they successfully tied it all together in a way that you know, changed the transportation game, right? So power of custom in-house development, proprietary and development, things like that. Big starting point within the application place. A lot of the times where we get involved initially is around the database conversation, right? How are they managing their data? How are the queries coming in to check for users, for different objects, as far as like what they're trying to determine based on their queries. So database assessments are a fantastic place to start. Could be SQL, could be MySQL, could be Postgres, could be all sorts of good stuff. So database discussions are a fantastic place to start. If you know who the DBA is at a company you're working with, or you know who's responsible for managing their database administrators, great place to start. Having a conversation, see if they need any help, see if they're getting the best out of their database, see if they have a plan for that, and where are those things residing. Again, high level terms, operating systems, you know, what is this application built on, right? Is it built on Microsoft operating system? Is it built on Android? Is it an Apple? Is it Linux? Is it Red Hat? Where are these applications? How are they built? What OS is this powered on? Application language, you know, how is that operating system and that platform and that user experience being communicated between the machine world and between the user world, right? Between the human and the machine. I don't think Elon's completely figured out how to combine us yet, but I guess he's working on it. But how is that application language? How is that application being communicated, and how is it coded, right? So when we build teams around system integration, these are the things that we're asking, and these are the things that we're discussing when we do that initial assessment. Obviously, the engineers and the Sprint Zero is going to go much deeper, but operating system, database, application language, and then the last is, you know, how are they currently managing and developing their apps? Are they doing the, you know, old school waterfall, or do they have an agile practice? We've gotten involved with organizations that have a significant application development team, but they want to go through a workshop around agile methodology. They want to bring in a scrum master. They want to bring in someone who can help them build out that practice within their organization to have a consistently iterative approach to managing their applications. So we do that. We coach on that. We have a team that can come in and help them through that. but we also can operate as a extension of their development team, running agile or tapping into what's called their DevOps practice. Oftentimes organizations love to build new stuff, but the idea of building new code versus validating that new code is secure, and there weren't any shortcuts made, or maybe they didn't, use a system that wasn't secured in that code, or leveraging something else. We audit that as well. So just like everything else in the IT stack, security needs to be managed and maintained. And sometimes, people are running and gunning, moving fast and breaking things. That's great. But also before you release that code, people need help securing it. So that development methodology and helping organizations understand, hey, before you publish this application, let's double check, because your client's going to enter their credit card number here, and maybe you use this Adobe web server or something like that has a known exploit, that all of a sudden you're having a bad day, right? So helping organizations understand that as well. So a lot of good stuff, right? Huge market opportunity. The sands and the tectonic plates of the underlying systems that are supporting applications are changing all the time. So it's a little bit, it's not the Wild West, but it's a very open market if you're willing to ask the question. So what I say to all my friends in the industry and people who are out there trying to get into this space or want to get into it, just get curious about, hey, how does that actually work? How are you actually supporting your applications? I know you got this website, and you got this portal, and you got this great content. Who's managing that for you? Do you guys do that in house? Do you guys develop your own new applications or new features within applications? What ERP are you working off of? Are you an Oracle shop? Are you Microsoft Dynamics? Are you custom? Did you build it yourself? How are you servicing your customers, right? So 80% of what they're spending in IT is in the application space. So 80% of the money that they're spending every single day is around applications. It's not always just the IT folks, right? You can branch out from your IT contact to different buyers in that world. They're all subscribing to this stuff. They all got end users they're supporting. I don't care if it's HR, or if it's their sourcing department, or if it's their financial department, or if it's their leadership. Applications touch every part of the business today. And it's in every industry: healthcare, banking, financial services, manufacturing, life sciences. It's all there. And I think a lot of people like to complicate it. They like to kind of put up some fake barriers of entry, because the more difficult it is to be curious about something like that, the higher prices, the big consultant firms can charge to really do something that could be handled. If you just kind of break it apart into a couple of different areas and understand what they're trying to do, it's really not that complicated. It can get very, very complicated, but the bones of it are pretty straightforward if you can ask that question. So, asking if they're leveraging agile methodology, or if they have an agile practice in their application development or DevOps team, or if they have a security operations team that integrates with Dev and SecOps. Great, curious questions. It'll get you involved with maybe some new people, and then how to start. Is you can't come in and say, hey, I want to rebuild and refactor and remodernize all your applications and take you to the 21st century. Like, would that be fun? Yeah, it'd be great. But that's not typically how you start. So where we typically start, where I'd say 80% of our application engagement and dev and system integration projects start, are around kind of these three areas. And these are typically catalysts for getting involved in much more of their business and helping them with other things. So a database assessment, helping to assess the performance and optimize their database. That's the database is basically the underlying engine of most applications, as far as, hey, I'm asking a question. or I'm inputting data and I'm expecting some type of an output, right? So we all remember learning algebra and in school, you put X into the machine and something else comes out, right? That is a database assessment. How is that box performing? How is that query performing? Can we optimize it? Can we make it go faster? Can we give it more? How fast can we modernize that? Do they need to upgrade that? How is that being hosted? Is it have enough compute? Does it have enough RAM? Does it have enough juice to get done what it needs to get done? Database assessment's a great place to start. A lot of people just kind of deal with what they got, and that's a great place to help your clients. Like I mentioned earlier, the security review, the ability to assess what they have built, right? Everyone's plugging in different new features, adding on new capabilities. And what we always talk about is remember, anytime you add convenience, anytime you add convenience for your end users, you're also potentially adding a threat from a security standpoint. Anytime you add the ability for someone to remotely connect or remotely access an application, you have to make sure that that connection is secure. Microsoft is enforcing this fall, they're going to enforce the idea that if you don't have multi-factor authentication, you cannot access Office 365, Microsoft 365. You are going to be forced. They are going to enforce it. Right now, they're strongly recommending it. Their cybersecurity folks are cybersecurity and cyber insurance is mandating that you have a policy around it, but a policy is not enforcement. Enforcement means, hey, so just think about it this way. You have to have a driver's license to drive a car for the most part. Imagine you get in the car and you have to scan your driver's license before you can turn your car on. That's what's about to happen in the Microsoft world, right? You are going to have to prove, and they're going to enforce access for multi-factor authentication. So that's, hey, that's going to cause some pain. That's going to cause some issues. That's going to cause some integration points. That's going to cause some, hey, I need help with this. Great opportunity to do that. And again, anytime you see a client rolling out a new feature, rolling out a new update, hey, we just released this. Hey, we just released that. Hey, we're promoting this new, great tool that we have for our clients. Ask them if they need help with a quick security review of their APIs. There's different plugins. We can help with the security code review and just, hey, validate that it's good to go. And then again, a sprint zero. Sprint zero is a great opportunity to get in an in-depth review with what they have, assess any technical debt that they have, and then give them a little bit of a roadmap as far as moving them forward with the next step. This can be in modernization efforts. This can be in a migration. So if they're on premise with an application, or if I just had a great conversation with a partner yesterday around an Oracle instance where some rules of the game have changed pretty significantly from their hosting partner, and they're looking to refederate that and bring that in-house. They want to host that Oracle instance themselves. They ran the cost models and it doesn't make sense to do what they're doing. That's a sprint zero. Let's document what they have in the cloud right now, on the hosting provider right now. Build out a landing zone for them in their own private cloud environment, and then basically understand how you're gonna map that application from point A to point B. Sprint zero all day long. Fantastic opportunity. Helps give them a good snapshot of how big of a lift that's going to be. All right. So for you as advisors, again, this is the fastest growing area within Quest. And when partners ask us, hey, what's the differentiator with Quest? What can we do together? How can we get more involved with our customers? Application development and system integration projects touch every layer of your customer's IT environment, right? So you're tied into Sometimes you're tied into the revenue production of that organization, the lifeblood of your customers, whether it's their customer facing applications or it's their financial services applications. You're tied in. If you can get involved with their database or with their code review or helping them tie all of these new features into their existing systems, it touches everything. It touches security, it touches operations, it touches their infrastructure, it touches the network. It's the lifeblood of every customer. So the upsell opportunities, the cross sell, the ability to help them with more, to consolidate vendors. With you as advisors, this is a great diversification as well, because you might have 80% of your revenue tied into a unified communications, a network, or a data center environment. And like we just learned with, what happened with VMware, we just learned what's happening with Microsoft. We're learning more and more about what's happening with, the data center servers, data center services out there. Those markets are constantly changing. So I would strongly advise, diversification is the only free lunch. Helping organizations with their application stack can give you a diversified revenue stream away from, selling a phone system, selling network transport, or selling data centers. Those are all great revenue sources, great building blocks. We'd love to talk to you about helping in all those areas. But, actually tying different systems together, helping with their Microsoft or with their Oracle or with their Salesforce or with their NetSuite or whatever applications they have, really helps you branch out of maybe being dependent on some areas of the market that are either getting standardized, commoditized, or very, very competitive. And then, it's you get to retain long-term relationships, the profit margins, and the long-term model of this. A lot of people will think about application development or system integration as a professional service or one-time cost, right? Project cost. We build a SAO, it's $50,000, $10,000, $5,000, whatever. It's a one and done. That's not true in the application or the system integration space. The contract can be structured as a term agreement or as a staffing agreement or as a ongoing service agreement. In the professional services world, like, hey, I need these two developers and this architect, but that revenue doesn't stop because those projects typically never stop. Once, if everyone, I used to do goofy book reviews on my LinkedIn when my daughters were really young, and I'd bring a book out and we talk about it. I think it was the first one I did was Little Red Hen. But one of my favorite ones around application development is you give a mouse a cookie, right? You give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk. He wants a glass of milk. We all know the story, right? That's very, very similar in application development. So you get involved in a development project where you actually help deliver something for a client. That client's going to want a glass of milk, right? They're going to want more. They're going to want you to stay in there and deliver with them, especially in the middle market. Very, very tough for organizations to get outcomes that they're looking for. It's a difficult market for firms to build trust. A lot of people kind of ship things overseas and have some challenges there. So having a company that organizations can trust around delivery, and I credit our Sprint Zero and our collaborative process very, very outcome focused, with the success we've had in application and system integration projects, with that. So huge sticky opportunity, long-term customer retention in the application space. This was a case study that I mentioned earlier. It was around a finance organization. It's well in excess of $3 million in project revenue. Started out with a small database assessment, and here's the big one, especially in the advisor community, because we're all relationship, right? People buy from people. And sometimes when your person moves on, sometimes maybe you lose that connection to the underlying company as an advisor. That can happen. One of the things that is very, very powerful around application development is we've gone through 3 different IT leaders at this finance organization, but we've stayed in the development role. And we've been continuing to add value in that role because, and that goes back to the idea of, from a competitive standpoint, an IT director leaves or a IT manager leaves, and they might bring in their lieutenants, right? Everyone's got relationships. We've been around for 42 years. This hurts us. This helps us. We know the game, right? You build a relationship, and those people bring you to other opportunities. The same thing happens when people leave, right? The new opportunities come in. Their new Microsoft partner comes in. Their new hardware partner comes in, and things change. Application development is not one of those areas typically where people, if you're delivering for them and it's something that's tied to the revenue of the company, they don't touch it. As long as you're doing a good job and continuing to deliver, you're good. And that's a really, really, I think, in the app dev and the system integration space, a very, very powerful reason for you as advisors to get into that role with a partner like Quest and help continue to execute for that customer. Very, very long term, very, very sticky. Oops, went the wrong way. So I know we're coming up on time here. One thing I want you guys all to know is, the application space alone and the integration projects alone are 3 times your traditional market. Hardware, network, transport, data center, physical infrastructure, security, operations. That's all great. We've all built our businesses on that. Application development and enterprise application integration is at least 3 times that market size. Huge, huge opportunity. Key takeaway number 2, every single one of your customers needs help here. Every single one of them is doing this. They're either building out their own teams, which Quest can help with from a staffing standpoint, or they are looking for firms to come in and help them execute or roadmap or plan or secure. So they don't necessarily know who to call for help because they've invested in systems. A lot of the market is transactional where they want to sell a new system. Take a step back from that transactional mindset, go in there and do an assessment with us and help them understand they can connect, manage, maintain, and integrate what they already have. Game changer. They'll kind of look at you sideways for the first time, like they'll kind of look at you funny, like, hey, what are you talking about? I'm waiting for you to tell me what I need to buy. They might not need to buy anything. They may need to optimize what they have and work on integrating what they have. So huge opportunity to differentiate yourself there. The last takeaway is you can't land the huge, multi-million-dollar deal day one. So don't go in there with the idea of, hey, we're going to do a digital transformation, big PowerPoint, awesome, huge presentation. We're going to change your world. Leave that for the big 4 and the KPMG guys in the blue suits. God bless them. Go do what you're going to do. What we can do as partners is go in there and start with a database assessment, start with an application review or a migration review. Like that Oracle example I gave yesterday. Don't start with the whole idea of we got to lift, shift, and do the full boat. Do the assessment first. Start with a database assessment. Start with a migration assessment. Start with something small. Build credibility through a project, and we can do some great work together. So love this part of our company. Again, fastest growing. Paul, I saw a couple things pop off. I don't know if they were heckles or anything like that, but
no, we got some questions. Yeah, great conversation, Adam. So a couple quick questions. Any difference in your services or the opportunity if a client is still mostly operating on-prem?
Nope. We're happy to support on-premise development. Again, we own and operate 2 data centers of our own where we host clients and develop services for folks in those data centers, as well as on customer prem or within their own data centers. So
great.
Definitely can support on-premise applications and monitoring, alerting, management, and operations.
Great. Another question. One of the partners was wondering, do we offer any content about Microsoft MFA information? Any content that they can provide? Any PDFs or anything?
Yeah, we do. So if you're not already subscribed to it, please shoot a note to partners@questsys.com and ask to be included in our mailer. We give what's called a quick Quest update once a month, and we also provide what we call our security advisory services to folks. So yes, we have content for that. We can share that with you. Another very, very powerful thing, plug for Darcy and the awesome marketing team. We have what's called turnkey playbooks around these topics. So as part of the follow-up to this, if you attended and registered, we will send out those key playbooks and that page where you can download that content. And then specifically around the Microsoft piece, we have a security advisory that we'd be happy to share with you. So if Justin or Darcy or anyone wants to grab that person's name, we can share that Microsoft challenge coming up with you directly it's called our security advisory. And if you'd like to be part of that list, please let us know. We'll get you on that.
Great. A couple more questions. Kevin was wondering, who do we contact at Quest with an app dev opportunity?
So you can go to the website, or shoot a note to partners@questsys.com. Or if you have, if you know your channel manager, so Brian Perdue, Gary Schick, Ryan Howard, or David Noel runs our partner support desk. So if you shoot a note to partners@questsys.com, we'll get it. If you want to register an opportunity with your TSD, or on the webpage yourself, just let us know who you're working with. There's a registration portal too, just under the partners tab at questsys.com.
Cool. And quickly, we'll do the gift card drawing in a second, but Scott has a quick question. I met with a prospect yesterday who is still in exchange. They are meeting with their current MSP this Friday and going to discuss either going Office 365 or some type of modern exchange platform from Microsoft. Is this even a viable consideration to go that route versus Office 365?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of email platforms out there. I mean, Microsoft is the Goliath, right? But there's Google Shops out there. There's other hosted exchange and hosted email services out there. Like I know Zoho's got a platform, and other providers have platforms. But yeah, there's tons of options out there. It's just, again, Microsoft is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I think they control about 60 to 70% of the market share.
Great. Okay, Darcy, if you would like to do the drawing for the gift card, that would be fantastic. And Darcy also might be on mute, as I was earlier.
Oh, what a waste of voice. I had a great intro here. I guess the winner will have to just find out via email. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Today's lucky winner is Scott Ellman. And Scott, we will be sending you information to the email that you used to register. So if you want us to send that to a different email, put it in the chat right here before you sign off. Every once in a while, we'll get a bounced email for a digital card because it goes to the wrong address. So we'll get that out to you today.
Great. Congratulations, Scott.
Good stuff. Yeah. And if you'd like to register for any other sessions we got coming up, got some QR codes. I promise it's not a security trap, at least not this time. Or the links below, or come to our Quest partners website. So if you come to questsys.com, or go to our partner page, you can log in and see all the content there. Also, again, these turnkey marketing programs and playbooks, fantastic resource for you and your team if you'd like to look into those as well. So all this content again will be broadcasted out to you guys. I believe it's coming from Justin on our team, but it'll be sent out with the recording of today. And again, thank you very much for your time. And if this helped you in any way or you thought it was valuable, we're doing this for our partners, for people who are interested in working together. So please share it, like it, send it to anyone in the industry that you think could benefit from it. And again, thank you very much for your time.